911 meeting to order Wednesday, July 19th, 5:30 PM, Hammond City Council Chambers. Call order, Michelle.
Todd DeLon,
Here.
John Exnicius,
Here.
Elizabeth Hollywood, Chelsea Kesnick. Here. Haley Norton. Here. Cassie Reagan.
Here.
Evan Singer.
All right. All business approval of the June 2023 financial report.
Michelle's already
This is our last financial report for the 2023 fiscal year, so it captures basically the full scope of what a fiscal year would have looked like. That's about it there.
Looks like the DVD's revenue was almost $100,000 over the budget.
Our property tax was higher than we projected it would be.
Brick sales.
Yes, brick sales. I think the property tax alone was probably somewhere in the $40,000 range. Yeah, between the bench sales and the brick sales, it amounted to that.
It's budgeted to be negative $162,000, but the actual is $49,000 positive.
What was that?
The budget was a negative $162,000 at the end of June, but actually you were at positive $48,000. So
Yeah,
it's
for the
better than
total
what was
of the
budgeted.
year. Mhm.
I make a motion we approve. It's fine.
Second.
Todd DeLon,
Yes.
John Exnicius,
Yes.
Elizabeth Hollywood, Chelsea Kesnick,
Yes.
Haley Norton,
Yes.
Cassie Reagan,
Yes.
Evan Singer.
Yes.
All right, next, approval of the meeting minutes from June 21st, 2023.
Did we need to amend anything in here with the facade grant on the, we got this all, this is right?
That's right.
Okay. I make a motion, we approve.
So the one item I'll note on the minutes, though, whenever we were approving the May minutes, due to, I guess, absences and people who had to abstain, that motion didn't carry, so we'll have to, we didn't realize that until today, so we'll have to approve those minutes again at our next meeting, but
Can we make a motion to do that tonight, if we all unanimously agree, or,
let me see if we would be able to pass it. Because last time, Todd was absent, John had to abstain, and Chelsea was absent. Yeah, I think we could do it tonight.
are y'all comfortable doing that?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to,
Amend the
Just amend
agenda.
the agenda for the approval of the minutes from
you want to
May 17th.
do that and then come back to this?
Probably should finish through with this, right? We've already started it.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
let's approve the June minutes first.
So I make a motion that we amend the agenda for tonight to cover the approval of the minutes from May 17, 2023. Is that,
We can do it first, or we can do the June minutes, whatever you want.
Okay, I mean, it's fine.
Okay,
I mean,
so we're going to amend the agenda. Cassie made the motion.
I'll second.
Todd DeLon,
Yes.
John Exnicius.
Yes.
Elizabeth Hollywood, Chelsea Kesnick.
Yes.
Haley Norton,
Yes.
Cassie Reagan,
Yes.
Evan Singer.
Yes.
So now we need a motion to approve the minutes from May 17, 2023. Okay, so motion.
Second.
Okay. Todd DeLon,
Yes.
John Exnicius,
Abstain.
Elizabeth Hollywood, Chelsea Kesnick. Do I abstain?
If you weren't
That
there.
wasn't.
So you were
You were at that meeting.
present at that May meeting.
Okay, so yes.
Kaylee Norton,
Yes.
Cassie Reagan,
Yes.
Evan Singer.
Yes.
So I think I'd already made a motion for the June minutes. Do we need to do that again?
Yes, we'll need to make a motion to approve the June minutes.
Okay, I'll make a motion, we approve the June minutes.
No, second. Oh, you got it, yeah.
Who's
Oh, he's got it.
Okay,
There you go.
we're competing here. Okay. Todd DeLon,
Yes.
John Exnicius,
Yes.
Elizabeth Hollywood, Chelsea Kesnick,
Abstain.
yes. Kaylee Norton,
Yes.
Cassie Reagan,
Yes.
Evan Singer.
Yes.
Next on the list is the discussion of the DDD loan program and application.
Yes, so this has been on the agenda for a couple of our meetings, and you'll see an updated revised draft. Since we're processing a loan this month, we were kind of working through some of the kinks in our existing application. And Evan provided some additional revisions that he would like to see with the program. So all of those changes that we've discussed as a group, and then we've incorporated since reviewing the application with the loan that we're processing this month, are all reflected in here. So this is the most updated version. Evan, if you want to kind of give an overview of some of the changes that you requested yesterday.
Yeah, we're just trying to make this actionable for 2023. Page 2 of the application, types of loans. Previously, you didn't have, leasehold or inventory, even as loan types. That's a lot of what we run into. Downtown Hammond or, people that need money for leasehold improvements, inventory. So we added those as under types of loans. Did we increase the amount?
Up to 150.
Yes. Well, I put that in the draft as you requested.
Yeah, so we increased some of the loan amounts to just match kind of what things cost today. The rates are what we discussed in several prior meetings. If you have the loan type 1, it was prime minus 1%, unsecured prime, real estate or cash secured prime minus 2%. And those are really good rates. Right now, it's better rates than you would get at a bank. It's pretty, that's, is there anything I'm forgetting, Michelle?
I don't have too much to add to the changes. You want to give an update that you also contacted USDA?
Yeah, so the USDA gave this loan to the DDD originally, and I connected with them and just said, hey, we have this loan program that we're administering and everything's going well with it, but we just want to make sure that someone from the USDA is aware of what we're doing. And it was a lady in Alexandria who's in charge of this program for the entire state, and she said that we need to be uploading our approved loan packages to a website Okay, send us sure, I've yet to receive anything from her, but, so but she knows we're here, she knows we're interested in complying with whatever they want, but they have to communicate that to us, which we still haven't received, but, the moment I get that stuff, then I'll share it with Michelle.
Now, the increases, that's based on some kind of evaluation that you have at the bank or something, the 150,000?
Yeah,
Where-
I just
or-
thought, I think the prior value was, for real estate maximum was what, 75,000? And just, in today's market, that just seemed kind of low for a real estate transaction. So we just said
Okay.
150. And same with the, one, like, inventory, furniture, fixtures, and equipment, I think that was at 25,000, which just seemed low in today's economy. So we were just looking to increase the maximum values, but ultimately, the maximum loan amount will be governed by the borrower's ability to repay. That's
Okay.
the main driver, if that makes sense. We didn't want to run into a situation where a good borrower needed, $150,000 for a real estate loan, but we couldn't do it because.
And we have the unlimited ability to, as much money, like, what is our, do we have a cap on how much we can loan out, or?
150.
Okay.
I think we
A
can set
year,
that.
no, but I'm saying like,
Like per entity, you mean?
I'm saying in general. like-
Yeah.
Like per year, like, we,
Yeah.
I
I'm
mean,
not aware of any.
So, yeah, and looking at some of our old, really, really old documentation from the USDA, the loan program was actually created in December of 1990. And then I don't know the year, but, it's in 2010 is whenever we actually had, at that point in time, I guess we had to request from USDA to increase the maximum loan amount from 50,000 to 75,000. Now, I'm assuming also at that point in time, we were reporting to them regularly, and I think to what Evan was trying to find out with USDA is how much or to what extent we still have to report to them or abide by those original grant guidelines, and I think that's something that's still a little uncertain to me, but just so everyone is aware, our current loan fund balance, I know it can be a little bit confusing looking at our financial reports, but our unreserved amount, which is, to my understanding, the amount that we actually can loan out is, we're at, for this fiscal year starting out, it's 360,000. So, if we do increase, we do have the ability to increase to that amount. So it just, if someone were to do the full amount of that loan, if they would be able to do it, then it would be about half of our.
did we talk to the USDA person about the increase? Did they say that's fine?
No.
Or no? Okay, so that's something we just had to verify, I guess, okay. Yeah.
So do we need to go, do we have to wait before we can make a motion to approve, or do we have to approve this, or what?
We don't have to, we're just trying to move it, we've been talking about it
Yeah.
for a while, we're just trying to.
Right, no.
But I can verify the loan increase with the USDA, and you could bring it back after I have that conversation with you.
Do we want to, is the only one that we have to verify the 150, the change from 75 to 150, or we have to verify all three? Because we could approve it at 75 with the ability to change it if we get approval from the USDA, and then we can move
Well, what we
forward.
can probably do is just approve it with contingency upon it's approved when we get the USDA approval.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
basically.
So just approve it now with that contingent, so. All right, so I'll make a motion to approve this new DDD loan program application with the contingency that it does have to be approved, the $150,000 increase on the secured fund loan needs to be approved by the USDA.
I'll second.
Sorry, I'm just writing it down. Todd DeLon,
Yes.
John Exnicius,
Yes.
Elizabeth Hollywood, Chelsea Kesnick,
Yes.
Kaylee Norton,
Yes.
Cassie Reagan,
Yes.
Evan Singer.
Yes.
Next on the list, new business, adopt the millage rate of 14.13 for tax year 2023.
Yes, so this is something that we're required to do every year. This year, we are just adopting the rate that we have adopted last year. We don't have any revised assessments for for this tax year. We may have some next year, but with guidance from the assessor's office, this is how our millage adoption should happen this year. Like I said, the rate is 14.3, and this is on all of the properties that are in our district. Last year, we collected $366,000 in tax revenue. And then for our upcoming fiscal year, we're projecting less than that, just as an average for the past 3 years. It's not super consistent. So, what we experienced last fiscal year is that we got more in tax revenue. So hopefully that will remain the same, but it's not always consistent. So we just have that average projected for this fiscal year. And then upon the adoption by the board, we send this approval and resolution and affidavit to the assessor's office, and that gets us taken care of for this tax year. And the tax year is a calendar year, so we run off of a fiscal year. So it's a little bit different from how we will need to be doing this a little bit more sooner in advance than we're doing it this time around, but this is all okay with where we're doing it right now at the assessor's office.
Okay, I make a motion that we adopt the millage rate of 14.13 for tax year 2023.
I'll second.
Todd DeLon,
Yes.
John Exnicius.
Yes.
Elizabeth Hollywood, Chelsea Kesnick,
Yes.
Kaylee Norton,
Yes.
Cassie Reagan,
Yes.
Evan Singer.
Yes.
All right.
All right. Next up is the approval of the DD loan for Luma Coffee Roasters.
So I'll just start us off. We've received a loan application from Luma Coffee Roasters for their business expansion. They currently operate, I don't know the address off the top of my head. I think it's 120 East Thomas.
111.
111.
North Cypress is what it says here.
Oh, I was trying to say they're.
That's a new one.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry.
Okay. So they are expanding to 111 North Cypress, so you can kind of see some of their plans that they have laid out in their business plan. We didn't provide you with all of the data. That's here if you want to take a look at it. But the executive committee, which functions as our loan review committee, we're provided with everything, and we've been working through the approval process for their request. So in your packet, you'll see their business plan, their application, and with their loan request. And so I think I may toss it over to Evan to kind of pick us up from that point.
This is the small downtown business that came to Michelle to get money to expand. This is what we're here to do. So in here, the last several pages of the loan package are just what I would call our working papers. The first page here is kind of how we try to arrive at a loan amount based upon our policy. We have equipment, inventory, and kind of an unsecured loan component, and here are the calculations on how we arrived at a preliminary loan amount of $41,000.
Let me make sure everyone has it. So if he's talking
yeah.
about,
Oh, that's this sheet.
yeah, it's it should be the last two. Yeah, last two tables. Before you flip to the next section.
So, yeah, so there's, you'll see on the left, equipment, inventory, working cap, other. This is just sort of our working document, how we arrived at a loan amount and a monthly payment. And just some other preliminary stuff. The next page is just our analysis of their ability to repay this loan, which for 2022, will look really good. And this is a really conservative approach to underwriting, because within this is the very last page of that you'll see years across the top, 2020, 2021, 22, 23. What we're assuming with this analysis is that they have this new debt, and we're not giving them any credit for any of the future income they could make, which is a common underwriting practice. So it's really conservative, so I'm just prefacing this with that. But in 2022, they were at a 1.40 debt service coverage ratio, which is really good. 2023 is much lower, but we're kind of missing data, so we were waiting on some information from them to fill this in. Below that, you have the two business owners and their ability to support this transaction. So we basically did as much as we could with the data we had available at the time, and we requested some more information from them. And what the executive committee talked about doing is requesting approval from the board for this loan, subject to our final analysis. And us just kind of firming up their 2023 data. That way we can, if they get the data, if it checks out, we can get the loan approved and funded for them, so they don't have to wait till our next meeting.
Now, when this happens, so all these things that they have will have liens on them, correct? Their car, every single one of these things?
Well,
I mean, how does that work?
So, FF&E would have a lien on it, the inventory would have a lien on it, and those two things would have a lien for us.
Mhm.
Their loan amount is kind of capped at the 41,000. What I proposed in here was, they need more than that. They've asked for 75,000. So to get them up to that number, I proposed taking the second lien on their houses, their personal residences. But then Michelle discovered that I think one of them already has a lien on their house, so there may not be equity there. So that's the kind of stuff we just got to kind of work
Okay.
through.
What about another person on the loan? That would be another option, yeah. So if we would approve this amount as stands with the option to increase the amount if they were to have a secondary grantor or whatever.
Or more collateral.
Or more collateral. Okay.
Just for a little bit of background, it's been quite some time since we've processed a loan request for this amount. The last one we did, I think, was in 2015. So I think the experience that we've had is with the 25,000 unsecured loans is the ones that we've approved since that point. So with this being a higher amount, we were learning kind of through that, and that's why we don't have maybe the data that we would like to have tonight, because we're also kind of working through that process, just so everyone is informed.
Okay. Any other questions?
No. So we want to make a motion to approve the loan for the amount indicated, with the potential to increase it to a maximum of 75,000 based on the additional information provided by the owners.
That makes sense.
Was that the motion?
That's the motion.
Okay. I'll second.
Okay. Cassie, and then John. Todd DeLon,
Yes.
John Exnicius,
Yes.
Elsbeth Hollywood, Chelsea Kesnick,
Yes.
Kaylee Norton,
Yes.
Cassie Reagan,
Yes.
Evan Singer.
Yes.
All right. Next up, Railroad Park, review of the history exhibit project budget.
So we have made a lot of movement on the history exhibit project. I just wanted to give a quick budget overview, since we don't have approval of a contract tonight for a fabricator, but we will be doing that in August. So I just wanted to kind of give you a rundown of where our revenue sources are coming from, and expenses that we've incurred for this project and a rough estimate of what we think the panels will cost, and that we are easily able to cover that through the grant that we've received from the state and then the sales from brick purchases. I guess any questions about that? That's where we'll also include this at the next meeting in August when we take a look at the approval of a contract with the fabricator.
Okay. And next would be the approval of the panel renderings for Railroad Park History Exhibit.
So we have worked with Antoine Marketing to draft these. The design committee reviewed them, and I do have them, if you want to take a look at them on the screen too. They're just printed in black and white in your binder. The design committee took a look at these. They selected this design out of a few other options, and
It's this in front of us, right?
yes, it's
Yeah.
that one in front of you. That is a actual size of what the panel would look like on the shorter brick columns. All of the plaques were, all the renderings are right here. The two larger columns that are by the pedestrian entrance of Railroad Park will be taller. This will be 30 by 48. And it will include this map and then a timeline, which is kind of still in progress. But we, like I said, design committee selected this design. We packaged all of the photos and our narratives to date, and we gave that to Antoine, and they produced this. We went ahead and got conceptual approval today from the Historic District. Their feedback so far is to just take a look at the font size of the panels so that it's a little bit more readable. And just for context, this panel, this industries panel, has the most text and therefore was the smallest font size. And just in terms of design, Antoine recommended that each panel have the same font size. But you'll notice on several of these renderings that the photos are really large. So what we're going to be doing next is restructuring, maybe condensing some of the information, maybe moving some information around so that it's a little bit more even with all the panels so that we can have a larger overall font size for all the panels. And that way there's one font size for all the panels, because I think that would look best in terms of design. That's where we're at now with this. We'll be getting Antoine Marketing Design to review those changes. We'll be working on those changes over next week. And then we will, I'm realizing I didn't print out the updated timeline for you all, but we will be presenting the updated renderings to the design committee, and we'll also go back for the Historic District Commission. And then during that phase 2, Roy is also helping to get 3 bids for a fabricator. So if the stars align, and I think they will, at our August meeting, we'll be able to do hopefully the final approvals and enter into a contract to get these things made. So I kind of have the timeline up there. We do have, we do have other reporting guidelines for the state grant, and I'm just seeking a little bit of clarification on our timeline, because the latest that these would be available and installed would be September 29th, and the state grant had a final reporting deadline as September 15th. So just trying to make sure that we do have expenses that we could charge to the grant for reimbursement, but when we initially wrote the application, we said it was for the panels themselves. And so they've kind of been, I think they'll be flexible with us that, we've made a lot of due diligence on this project, and just getting confirmation from them on that. But so far, that's kind of where we're at in this process. We finally have a product.
They're not going to make the photos a lot smaller, right? Because, I mean, honestly, and we talked about this at design committee, the people who want to read it and want to know all the history are going to go up and read every word, but most people are going to get caught by the photographs. And we picked that in lieu of the one that had more small photos because you could read them better.
Yeah. And my thoughts, which I shared, is, and I know that you did all this writing? This was you? Who?
It was I guess it's mostly me.
Okay. So that's a lot of freaking work, so thank you for doing that.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So, but if there's any way
To trim it.
to trim it and condense it, and then the other question I had just while I was thinking about that, who is your backup to make sure this is all right, other than spell check on a computer? Like, is somebody
So
else
we've
reading it?
had Ashley Tarleton is the GA assistant with the Center for Southeast Louisiana Studies. She's read it.
Okay, good.
Tara actually did some editing. Tara Bennett, she's on the design committee. She went through and she did some editing. Dr. Hyde's looked at it.
Okay.
Dr. Nichols has looked at it, and I have edits from them that I haven't incorporated into this final version of the panels. So I anticipate that we'll either, a few options. I think we'll be able to move maybe some of the information around to a panel that this panel has the most information of all of them. We'll be able to maybe move some of this to another panel. And we'll also do some condensing if we're able to.
Like, if you can get the font to be the top part, that seems more, because and I think I said this, like, you go into museums, they're often not that wordy. Like, that's a lot of, that's a lot.
You say top font, you mean
The
the
industries.
Like sub,
Yeah.
Second one.
not the,
Or I'm saying the size
The
of what's under
sub.
industries,
Yeah.
that-
Okay.
Second.
that portion, yeah.
I mean, I think there's a way around it. You can reduce industries, you can reduce like railroads during Civil War. But I also wonder, is there a way we can incorporate like a vanity URL or a QR code? If people want to read more, they could go.
Oh,
That's a really good idea.
I mean, like, you can copy exactly that, build out a couple landing pages, and then just,
And the only question is, would that technology ever change, or, I mean, that would be the
I
only.
mean,
as long as the website doesn't change, that's a possibility. I mean, I see both sides of, you know, I personally do think that if people, it is pretty tight as it is. Like, if you read it, you know, we would basically maybe be eliminating talking about the hotels in their entirety. I mean, the sections for each of those components are pretty tight in of themselves. So I will condense it down as much as I can, and what you will see in August, I think, will hopefully try to be a compromise between maybe what everyone's looking for. I do like the idea of QR codes. We get a lot of complaints about using QR codes some of the time, just in terms of accessibility. And usually if an older person, I guess, they're more interested in history, they would be our target audience that would actually sit there and read all of this. They may not.
They're gonna die of heat
they're
stroke
not
by the time they're
gonna,
done.
they're not gonna be able to read it.
Well, we went out there, so our process of finding this font size was we went out there with Eddie and Roy, and we put up different size fonts, and we stood about 5 feet back from the column, which is like standard viewing distance. So I understand, we're several more feet away. So we landed on this, and we thought it was readable in the space with a considerable distance away from the column.
I think you have to look at the contrast too, because it's white font on dark background. So it's gonna like screw with your eyes a little. What is that font size?
That's, I have to look back. I think it's 20.
Okay.
You're not going to be trying to read it from back here. You're going
No,
to be
that's
standing in
okay.
front of it,
Yeah.
trying to read it. So I think the
So basically,
Hammond's history of is a little big.
Yeah, I agree.
you would probably be about this far away,
Okay.
if that.
But I think there's a way to keep, like, trim it if you can, but I think if you reduce industries, railroad, all that stuff, And then you could even keep the pictures the same size, reduce the font slightly, and then you can scrunch the pictures closer a little bit.
I'm just gonna walk around so kind of see what the viewing distance would be.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I don't think it's bad.
It's
No,
readable.
you can add it up.
It's, like I said, most people are going to walk by, check out the
Yeah.
photos. If something catches their eye, they might
read a
read.
portion of it.
But you are going to have people, there are a lot of people who come to downtown Hammond and they want to know more about our history. So there are going to be people who want to read every word of it. I don't think it's bad. I think
I didn't notice, is the small text the same font type as the titles?
No.
Okay. Is it the same as the subheading? Because you could do, sorry, I'm getting in the weeds.
This font and the font is the same. This is a separate font and then this is a font.
Okay.
And I create documents.
I don't know the font.
It's okay, it's
but
okay.
There are 3 different fonts.
I was just going to suggest you could look at other font types.
And the updated renderings, so we have this printed with the older version, but the updated renderings will have small captions underneath the photos.
Okay.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, that's nice.
It's a great job.
Yeah, it looks
This is
really good.
nitpicking,
Oh, yeah.
but it is,
Well, I'd rather do it
Would-
right than,
no, I think it's
Down.
great. I'm so excited that we're getting to the light at the end of the tunnel, as I'm sure you are. And this is all just tweaking it. It looks great. Thank you.
yeah.
It does, it looks good.
So what I'm gonna try.
Men like
to do-
pictures, not words, so more pictures is
Right.
good.
So what I will try to do, we'll basically have our most final renderings by Wednesday, August 2nd. So I'll try to get those, or maybe I'll send them to you after the design committee, but I'll try to get them to you earlier than our board meeting so that you're able to, I would encourage you all to read them, if you haven't had
Fantastic.
the time
I'm
to.
invested.
And, any edits or feedback, just let us know.
Okay.
I guess it would be good to just know that we're moving in the right direction and,
So you want the approval as a concept? Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the panel of renderings of Railroad Park History Exhibit as a concept.
I'll second.
Todd DeLon,
Yes?
John Exnicius.
Yes.
Elizabeth Hollywood, Chelsea Kesnick,
Yes.
Haley Norton,
Yes.
Cassie Ricken,
Yes.
Evan Singer. All right.
All right. Design Committee report, Cassie.
Okay, so we did meet, and one of the things we did was approve the facade, approve it to come to the board meeting. Facade grant for, and is this right? No. 203, 205, and 207?
Yes.
Okay. East Charles. So the last meeting, we approved a grant that was for 209?
Yes.
Okay, so it's the same area of property right over here, a block away. So this is for the other buildings. Everything was submitted as one, and Michelle broke it out. So we did one, and now we're doing the second one. So all the info is in here for you to take a look at. It's a grant for $2,000, and if y'all have any questions, it's for awnings and painting, if I remember correctly.
Yes, it's a canvas awning and painting on, basically those addresses are for one building. So their total project cost is $5,920. This is for, the last time we approved 209, that was in June, which was a separate fiscal year. Now we're in a new fiscal year, so our guidelines are one per tax ID per fiscal year. So this is kosher.
Anybody have any questions?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Todd DeLon,
Yes.
John Exnicius,
Yes.
Elizabeth Hollywood, Chelsea Kesnick,
Yes.
Kaylee Norton, Cassie Reagan,
Yes.
Evan Singer.
Okay, and the other item is we are continuing to discuss the sidewalk reimbursement program, which Michelle has been awesome in putting together what you see here, sidewalk reimbursement program guidelines and application. So just continuing, like I said, to review it and tweak it and make sure that we are aware of upcoming projects as early as we can be made aware of them, of what the amount is that they'll be looking for, so we can start this process earlier. Have a better idea, of what's coming down the road, when it might hit us, and total amount. So are we ready
So,
to?
yeah, I have some updates. I know we couldn't,
Okay,
I realized we didn't really get a chance to
Yeah.
touch base before now, but, so we have had the city take a look at this. Lacey sent over some revisions, and we talked about it, and I guess in thinking a little bit more about, with doing this process, we want to make sure that we're able to, whoever the recipient is going to be, the property owner, that we kind of inform them throughout that process, and at what point in time are they submitting what to whom, and just how to kind of lead them through that. So this reflects edits with Lacey's suggestions, and the design committee kind of suggested having it kind of phased by where they would be in the construction process. So I think when we previously have talked about this, we just want to make sure that we get notification of potential projects and the amount that they would be spending as soon as possible. But we wouldn't necessarily want to muddy the water, so to speak, and, kind of, I don't know, it's been a process to figure out what the process would be. So in talking with Lacey and thinking a little bit more about how we structure our facade grant program, basically with our facade grant program, people do the work. We approve the design if it's outside the historic district, and then once they finish with that, they can come back to us for another approval for their facade grant. And so with kind of taking trying to not overburden them with paperwork, you can kind of see the process here. The design committee does have an architectural review application. And so during that process, they have to come before the design committee anyway for an approval. So with trying to get just an estimate at the time that they're in their design phase, since correct me if I'm wrong, Cassie, but they may not have bids at that point in time, or they may not have firm
they won't have
costs.
bids
Right.
at that time, but
Right.
yeah, a regular design project with an architect or an engineer has phases, and they have to have estimates at each phase. So if they come to us at a design phase, it's an estimate generated by their professional of record.
Right.
But it should be a pretty good idea of what kind of money we're talking about.
Yeah. So in our architectural review application, we've kind of built in the estimation there. So you'll see it, because the design committee would have to review the design as it is. So at that point that they're reviewing the design, we've put cost estimates for the building renovation, new construction estimate, and then their sidewalk estimate, if that's a part of what their project is. So if it's a part of a full building renovation and also includes sidewalks, or if it's just a sidewalk project, we would use that to get us started with the estimate. Because whenever we're talking about the reimbursement part where the application comes in for the reimbursement, I know this is all new. Lacey and I talked about this. We would be having them submit we would have them submit the sidewalk reimbursement application after construction. So we would get our estimates ahead of time. We would be alerted for it with whatever they would be thinking at that point in time. So we would be able to plan. We would still be able to alert the city and the city administration that we do have a project. The design committee has reviewed it. We've looked at the design. And then they would basically, we would submit a certificate of appropriateness, they would get their permits, and then in the post-construction phase is when the sidewalk reimbursement application would come in. So it's different from what we have talked about with her recommendation. Now, this is just a draft, so that's just kind of how she recommended that we kind of do it. We can look at other ways.
Yeah, I think this needs to go back to the design committee.
Okay.
And we can talk about it. Because this is completely different than what we talked about.
Yeah. Yeah, so you will see the cooperative endeavor agreement too. I know we haven't looked at that yet, but this would basically be like all the documents that would, we'd be looking at with trying to formalize this program and process. So any recommendations you have, you know.
So why does she want it, what was the reason for her wanting it afterward as opposed to?
So whenever she was going through the application, we initially said, you know, it was basically some parts of the application were an estimate, and then other parts were, at what point in time do we have a firm number for the council to approve? At what point in time do we have a firm number for the board to approve? And so since we would have to have a phased approach either way, and this was one way that she kind of recommended to, you know, kind of just clarify it a little bit. And so I started thinking about our facade grant program and how that's structured, and this is kind of what we've landed on, but we can go back to, you know,
Yeah, I think,
drawing board
I
a
think
little bit.
we probably all need to look at it and think about it before we,
So my question is, as it stands now, I'm sorry if I'm asking too many things, but just, if somebody's planning to do this, don't they want the
Approval before.
approval prior
Yeah.
to them being that far along? I mean, or no?
Yeah.
It doesn't
that
matter.
Makes sense.
I don't think anybody's at that point yet.
Yeah.
So I don't think we're endangering anything.
But based on this, the way that would go, wouldn't somebody really want the approval ahead of time before they committed to it? Or
Well, they're not going, so it's a three-way split between the city, the DDD, and the owner. The city is not going to vote on it and technically approve it until after the project is complete.
Okay.
So it's going to be a cooperative endeavor agreement. It's going to be something that we all, well, they're not going to approve that until after the
So
project's over.
this changes basically the process, because, you know, when we were talking with the design committee, if it wouldn't really be worth the council's time to approve an estimate. You know, it would be more worth the council's time to maybe get alerted that we have a project underway, and in, you know, X amount of months, with whatever project timeline it is, we will be the board will be making a decision about, you know, distributing funds to them. The council will be making a decision about distributing funds. So, yeah, I think we need more work.
I think what needs to happen is our next design committee meeting, maybe Lacey or somebody else from the city can come to that meeting,
Yeah.
and we can all talk about it
Yeah.
at the same time and try to streamline the process. Because just like with the loan agreement, we don't want to make this so cumbersome that people don't want to do it. We
Right.
want to encourage people as they renovate existing properties or build new properties in downtown to continue our sidewalk program, so everything is cohesive and ties together. I don't think we're endangering anything at this point.
Yeah.
The only project I know that might be in the loop, they're not there. So I think it might
Let's
streamline
table this.
our process if we
Right.
could have somebody from the city come to the next meeting, and we can look at the previous package we had put together and then what you put together since then, and see what maybe is the best way to go.
Yeah.
And I don't want to throw in the wrench in the machine, but I think I asked this last time we had the meeting, is can we actually prove that the owner of that property owns the sidewalk? Because I don't think they do. I think that's a servitude that's owned by the city technically. So if we're going to split costs between three people, then one person doesn't actually have a vested interest in the investment. They just are spending money out of their pocket
Yep.
to do an improvement that probably should be funded by the city and the DDD technically, so. I'm just asking that question because I'm not clear on, I know I don't own any sidewalks in front of any properties I own. Now, I own things behind my property because that's private area, but.
I don't know, that's, I guess it's a good question, but that's what's taken place at La Coretta, at,
If you've got an owner who's interested in spending money on it, that's one
Right.
thing, but.
Yeah.
Does he own any portion of those sidewalks?
I don't know, all the projects that we've done, there's four or five,
I mean, there's several. I'd have to go
Yeah.
back and look at all the addresses.
they,
but-
And the only reason I asked that
it's
is.
been done by the owner.
'Cause
So the
actually-
corner where
sorry.
Steakhouse is, that the Okrepke zone, that was done, but we didn't do a match on that.
Yeah, I think there are
Andre's
certain
building over here.
codes, I think, for new construction where the owner has to have some sort of sidewalks in their,
That part I understand.
yeah, their proposal. I think the design committee actually talked about this last time we met, to what extent, I guess this is something that we have to look at in the UDC, but it has been, I guess, just something that, as like a larger answer or question to why, I guess, does this program even exist between the property owner, and I don't have the answer for that tonight.
That's all right.
but,
And the last thing I'll add, and I promise I'll shut up because everybody wants to leave. But the thing that I sat in a meeting in this room at one point where the city was thinking about charging businesses like myself and anybody else who has furniture on the sidewalk, a rental fee to keep that furniture out on the sidewalk. So that's just another layer of,
you
okay,
pay
if
for
I
it.
actually own this sidewalk, you shouldn't be able to tell me that I have to pay you rent to have furniture on this sidewalk. So these are some things I think we need to clarify as, who's the actual owner of the sidewalk? And do they need to share that cost when it's not new construction? I think that would be the angle I would
I
ask the
agree,
question from.
because we have like a direct issue right now where the brick in between our planters are buckling.
I saw it, yeah.
And I have a question just to clarify. Are DDD board members' businesses eligible for any of these grants?
Probably not.
Incorrect,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Well, this isn't actually a grant.
Well, any
right?
of the facade, the sidewalk,
And the edge
the
of the
DDD loan, any of those?
DD board members?
Yes.
So the understanding that I have at this point in time is no.
That's what I thought. I just wanted to clarify.
Which, well, and we can,
Should be gone.
Okay, so let's send this back to the design committee. And Todd, I'll see if we can find an answer to your question.
Thank you very much.
All right. Next up, the event committee report, Chelsea.
Right.
yes, okay, so hot August stroll, I think we've got all boxes checked and i's dotted for the most part. The main band that we'll have in Catesboro Park is Night Crawlers. I'm sorry if I'm backtracking, I
it's
wasn't
okay.
at the last meeting, so I don't know exactly where y'all left off. But we've got the Night Crawlers booked in. We've received quite a few applicants for the local musician lineup that's going to happen in two different spots. One is Railroad Park. I know, Michelle, you were following up with the Art Center to see how many pre-sale tickets we've sold, if any.
I don't have any of those. I don't have the ticket numbers. She couldn't pull those today because she also had a board meeting today.
Okay.
But she didn't get a chance to get back in touch with me. We have about, I was going to pull up the spreadsheet. We have 5 businesses signed up so far. So we plan to do some door-to-door visits with the merchants over next week and the week after, just so we can just make sure we're spreading the word and whether they want to participate as a wine and cheese stop or not, just seeing what they have planned. We have had several actually fill out our merchant advertising form, about 10 so far, which usually it's kind of hard for people to fill that out. So we're trying to work with everyone to see kind of with what they're planning and doing some outreach to our restaurants to see what a pop-up situation would look like near the park area so that we're able to, have a quicker food service option. So far, I've only got 1 or 2 kind of confirmed that they're going to be able to pop up for a tent. So I think we may need to bring in, I know
What is
that
that deadline? Didn't we put a deadline on it?
it's August 4th.
Yeah.
So we still have about 2 weeks to kind of do some more outreach there. But if you know anyone that, just help us spread the word, and you're talking to other business owners, just, talk to them about what their plans are, encourage them to get that info to us so that we're able to advertise for them. There was something else that I had off the top of my head, but I can't quite remember what that was. Did you have anything else to add? I mean, excuse me, we've got confirmation from Southeastern, Lion-Palooza is good to go, and we didn't actually have confirmation that the band was participating, but now we do.
Well, we do now, yeah.
So we'll have our full, pep rally set up in Kate Square Park. All the athletic teams, the coaches, and the band. They're not doing the march this year, so it'll just be a pep rally starting at 3:30. And then the Children's Discovery Center's planning everything for the Kids Zone area. And several of our business owners on Charles will be doing activities too. We've reached out to them, and they're excited about, having kind of a new event area. The police, Hammond PD actually reached out, and they kind of want to do a puppy parade, which is kind of interesting. So we'll see where they kind of fit in and how that works, either maybe in the morning or in the evening. And, there's new activities popping up all the time. So we'll try to share those out as we can, so that we are releasing teasers and other bits of the event as we get them collected. We are still looking for some volunteers, so if you know anyone that can volunteer, and I think most of you may be busy that night running a shop and entertaining people, but if you can help spread the word with getting up some volunteers, that would be very helpful.
Is there anybody that you're approaching so far for that? Like, as far as
Volunteers?
groups or, yeah.
The Mandy Milkshakers usually helps with they do the wine and cheese check-in for the tickets.
We wrote down some names. I'll have
yeah.
to look back.
And the chamber's helping us kind of maybe get a few volunteers between their folks. And, well, this isn't the staff report, but we do have several organizations that are interested in sponsoring whenever we initially, well, I'm kind of moving on to the next agenda item, so I can maybe just cover that in the staff report if you want.
Okay, go ahead and do that.
So I'll go into that. So we discussed the annual partner sponsorship package and went ahead and just made it a little bit more formal. When we discussed, we kind of were eliminating a single one-time event sponsorship, but I've kind of structured it in a way that the gold, bronze, and the silver would still have one of those every year, and then lower priced options for people who would still want to sponsor. We get people all the time calling where they want to set up a tent at the farmer's market, but we're kind of a non-solicitation market, and so we usually say no to those folks. But if they were to give us some money and pay for some music and be our music sponsor for 2 weekends, then that would kind of work out to give them at least an option instead of always saying no. I mean, there is a way that we could work together. And then our signature event would be for Hot August Our Starry, and it includes what you see there. And it wouldn't over-dominate any of our larger tiered sponsorships. And so hopefully hearing back from a few folks either doing the single event sponsorship and some of our larger partner organizations maybe selecting one of our gold, bronze, or silver over the next couple of weeks. Several have shown interest, and I've sent this to quite a few folks. So that's kind of the update there.
Michelle, I think this is a great idea, the sponsorship, and when we first talked about it, I think it's worth a lot more than this. This is my point of view. I mean, it just seems
Definitely a
like
great
it's
value.
Very valuable, and I would consider increasing those passes, because that's a really great program for
Do we have any, did North Oaks pick one of them, or?
That's one that I'm waiting to hear back from.
Okay,
They said they would let me know in a few weeks.
okay. Cool.
You'll see the staff report here. We're advertising for the farmer's market manager position. Have a few phone interviews lined up, haven't gotten to any in person yet. But if you know anyone that'd be a good fit, please share that out. We're also looking for interns for the fall. We have, I think, 3 lined up so far. So next Friday is the deadline for that.
So I was at the farmer's market 2 weeks ago, and I got stopped by several people who were excited to see a board member at the farmer's market.
I go every Saturday.
I'm sharing information. They seem to have, a couple of them have somebody, a gentleman that they would like to encourage to apply for this. I'll talk to you after because
Okay.
I can't remember a name.
Yeah.
But I can describe.
Yeah.
Anyway, but they were very concerned that we don't have anybody yet. They love the both of you. They know how much y'all are doing, though. They know how much, on top of the farmer's market that y'all are handling. So they were just asking, is there any way to help you expedite the process of finding a market manager? So I'm asking, is there anything that any of us can do to help you?
If you know someone that
Know
would be
somebody.
fit for it, I mean, send them right on over.
Yeah.
I've spoken with a few of them recently over the past few days, and I know that I think we're at the point where they understand that we're all working as best as we can on it, and maybe some things are not as great as they could be with certain things, but as much as they can send people to us, the board sending folks to us, between our interns that we have, Katie and I mean, we're managing with the market, but by all accounts, I mean, it actually gets the most consistent dedication from us because it happens every week. So,
Right.
I just think I've tried to kind of modulate their expectations a little bit right now as we are hiring on a manager. And, we've done, once you take a step back, we've actually accomplished a lot despite having some staffing shortages, and it'll only kind of continue to improve. So if you know anybody, that would be a good fit for the
And
market.
I think Katie is an administrator on the Brews webpage, and we have like 8,000 followers, so she's more than welcome to share that link or post about the job we can get it in some more faces. I'm more than willing to let that happen, so.
Yeah.
Anything we can do to help Hammond, obviously, we're
Yeah,
on
yeah.
board, so. So whatever you need from us, use us, yeah.
Word of mouth through your, social media pages if you want to. All that's really helpful to get that position filled. Another item with the market, John and Elsbeth and we spoke about this with just trying to expedite a few things related to, with the programs that we run with the market, we have to do all reimbursements for the SNAP program, our SNAP match program. And so as we're kind of taking a look at some systems that we can kind of tweak a little bit with the market and eventually updating some of the guidelines and just kind of restructuring things a little bit better, looking for a separate bank account if we're allowed to do that with the legislative auditor, and since we're underneath the city, since it's a separate revenue item and it's not tax dollars, it should be okay actually for us to do that. That's what Lacey kind of gave me a tentative approval, but we do have to check with the auditor just to make sure. But that in of itself would change a lot with the administration of some of the programs with the market and collecting rent and potentially restructuring some of our rental fees as we take a look at the guidelines and just kind of reassessing some of our, we're providing a lot of value to them, and I think that it's time that we kind of just reestablish some of our guidelines so that they're in a little bit of a better place. So that's not a discussion for tonight, so to speak, but I think that's something that working on as we get a new manager in, that we can kind of take a look at those things. And we're still adding on new vendors, being very selective. We're actually, is something that we have to turn a lot of people away from. So we continue to be really selective with our folks. And
How many applications are you usually getting? Just curious, like a month of people wanting to do it?
I mean, it's probably. How do you?
I don't know.
It's
I've gotten 4 over the past like week and a half, 2 weeks.
Okay.
yeah. I mean, we do get several applications. It's kind of a consistent, ongoing process. And the Snap Match program, like I mentioned, is funded by Grow the Good. This is statewide funding. This is not anything that we're funding. We did increase that match amount to $50, and ultimately that helps just have our market be open to everyone, and it allows, you know, some of our lower income residents to buy locally a little bit easier. So we will still be operating that program through June of next year, since we have funding for this fiscal year. Just some other documents in your packet if you want to take a look at them. There's this one pager by our state Main Street program, which kind of lays out some of the grants, tax incentives that are available from the state and nationally. The tax rebate program has actually been renewed, and it has been increased to 35% for, sorry, I'm like blanking. 35% of a tax credit for projects that are in rural areas. We're actually still considered a rural area by some USDA data, so our property owners can take advantage of those, and if they're on the National Historic Registry, they can get that 20, so it's actually, when you stack it, it's 55%. And so this is just a good resource. If you know folks that are kind of working on things, we try to share that out too. And we got connected with Lift Fund, which is a community development financial institution, for some products that they offer in our area. And you can see some of the different loan options here. They do offer real estate loans at much higher amounts than what our current loan program offers. So this is just another resource that's available that we're trying to share out. And I think that's everything.
Fantastic.
All right. Well, that is a wrap. Call meeting adjourned if everybody's down for that. All right, good deal.